Hi everyone, Tim Woodhouse here from down in Kent. I'm really sorry that I cannot be with you up in Sunderland today. I would have loved to have been. I've never been to Sunderland, so it would have been a great chance to visit. But unfortunately, time and resources conspired against me. So you'll have to make do with this pre-record. But I hope you have a fantastic day. I'm here to talk to you about the work that I've done in my role as Suicide Prevention Programme Manager in Kent County Council's Public Health team. And I also completed a Churchill Research Fellowship, which enabled me to go to the United States last year to look at best practice in relation to reducing domestic abuse related suicides. I know that you're all very used to talking about domestic abuse and possibly suicide as well, but just to highlight that I am going to talk and play you some sound clips from people who have been impacted by domestic abuse and attempted to take their own lives. So please just look after yourselves. To jump straight into the stats, the situation down here in Kent and Medway is bleak. We know that 33% of our suicides have been impacted by domestic abuse over recent years. That's a huge number of, to put it bluntly, dead people, 291 to be precise. And although that is a very high number, I guarantee that it is going to be an underestimate, given that we know domestic abuse is very underreported, both to the police but also to domestic abuse support services and also to friends and family. I think that you're in a very good position actually as health professionals to respond to domestic abuse, because we know that actually health professionals are one of the most likely recipients of somebody's first disclosure of DA. So you have a good chance that you're going to be coming across people impacted in DA, and you have a real ability to make a big difference. I don't know the data for Sunderland in terms of whether that same proportion is 33% up with you as well. I don't have any reason to not think it would be somewhere in that same ballpark though, which will mean tens, hundreds of people are dying in your local area over a period of years in this way. What do we mean by impacted by? Well, we definitely know that there are victims of domestic abuse dying by suicide. We know that there are perpetrators of domestic abuse dying by suicide. And we also know that this group in the middle, labelled by Kent Police down here locally, is both a victim and perpetrator. These are people that may make malicious counter-allegations of domestic abuse. So where they're primarily a perpetrator, but then they falsify or make a malicious allegation to try and further control their victim. Or they may be victims who use self-defense or fight back in order to protect themselves or their children. As I've already said, don't know how we compare in Kent to other areas. If you are counting, I would love to know how we compare, but I don't think from the work that I've done over the last 5 or 6 years that there are many other areas of the country that are counting in the same way. I have highlighted on the screen that in Australia there's a much larger sample over a further number of years, and they have found that 25% of all of their deaths have been impacted by DA. So not quite 33%, but not far off. And there was also this National Police Chiefs Council report from the last couple of years, which highlighted that there are more suspected victim suicides following DA than intimate partner homicides. If you put that a different way, then the person most likely to kill a victim of domestic abuse is themselves, which is obviously a horrific position to be in. Just want to kind of play you some sound clips now. In addition to the quantitative stats work we've done, we've also done a bit of qualitative research. And the simple question was, why did you attempt to take your own life?
I knew that he was going to kill me, so it wasn't a matter of choosing to die, just who was going to do it.
So this highlights that for some victims of domestic abuse, they are so convinced that they are going to be murdered by their perpetrator that a better solution was to control their own death in a manner of their choosing, which is obviously a horrific position to be in. But that wasn't true for everyone.
I thought I was worthless, like I didn't deserve to be alive, and that everything they said was true. I was horrible, and that the only way out was for me to die.
So these are people who are basically broken by their perpetrator into believing everything that they're told them, that they're worthless, their friends hate them, the family don't want to be around them, and the world would be a better place without them.
You go into survival mode. You're hyper-vigilant. It's exhausting and tiring. I was sick of fighting. I was sick of surviving. I knew when I woke up that day I would attempt suicide.
And this third cohort are people who don't believe they're going to be murdered. They aren't broken in the same way that the previous cohort was. They just want the abuse to stop, and they cannot figure out another way to making it stop other than suicide. These are people who have often been to services but have been let down. They've obviously sometimes been to the police but been let down. But sometimes they also haven't ever reached out for help because they're too frightened because of what the perpetrator might do to them.
I felt broken. I felt so many emotions: shame, hurt, fear, grief. I felt like damaged goods. I couldn't sleep at night. I was having flashbacks, and he was on Tinder finding the next victim.
And this next cohort kind of highlights the fact that actually for many people, the real danger point isn't during the abuse. And actually it can come a lot later. As you can see in this example, the perpetrator's moved on to a different relationship, but the victim is so broken and the impact of the trauma just hits her many months after the relationship ends, which is really important for us as services to think actually people don't suddenly get better or magically turn into happy people after the relationship ends. That long-term impact of the trauma can be really damaging.
The way she abused me was very different to the way abuse is traditionally depicted. It wasn't violent, but if you can drive someone insane to the point they want to take their own life, then that's just as damaging.
And then it's obviously really important to know that this isn't just female victims who are dying. There are male victims who are dying as well, and that's important to recognise as professionals. This is the cover of my Churchill Fellowship report, and I've put the link on here as well, so you can download it and see all 66 of my ways and all 66 of my recommendations to reduce domestic abuse related suicides. I don't obviously have time to go through each one in detail with you now, so I just wanted to highlight a few and highlight the fact that I've kind of grouped my recommendations in under 10 domains, 10 different groups. I think we need to support young people much better to understand what a healthy relationship looks like and feels like. We need to support female victims of DA much better. We need to provide much better support to men and boys who are victims of DA as well. And we also need to understand more about this group who are known as both victims and perpetrators. And actually, quite frankly, we need to do much greater research and quality and depth of research in a number of these areas. Just to highlight a couple of really detailed recommendations, but actually really simple as well. We just need to get better at asking every victim of domestic abuse, are they contemplating suicide? Because until we know the answer to that, we cannot make a safety plan, which is the second recommendation. We cannot make an effective safety plan without knowing the answers to those questions. Right, I think that's where I'm going to end the presentation, and I hope you have a really interesting day. Please reach out to me if you need any more, if you have any questions and you want to kind of carry on the conversation with me. tim.woodhouse@kent.gov.uk, or I'm on LinkedIn, and I hope you have a great day. Thank you.